News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. In just a moment, we're going to talk about the border and several things you're not going to believe, I promise you. I'll tell you about that. You'll hear some unbelievable stuff in a second. But first, I wanted to finish up. You can chime in right now if you'd like. DISD considering hiring security guards to comply with state laws on securing campuses. I do not want security guards protecting my children. I don't trust them. They don't run towards the danger, most of them, in my opinion, unless they're a cop or a retired cop. And there's no way you could hire the amount of security you need. And point in fact here in Georgia, that horrific shooting that just happened, there were one, or I believe it was actually two cops on the premises at the time, but they couldn't help until it was too late. As soon as they showed up, the terrorist surrendered peacefully, but that was too late. And so he killed 4 and injured several others. And if the teacher was armed, I would have loved it. If I was one of those parents, I would have wished it would have been to be. So that's just kind of how I feel. And I don't think it's a good solution. I think arming the teachers is the right solution. Here's my question. Do you trust security guards with your child's life? And what do you think are the best ways to make our schools safer? Would you prefer a gun-free zone sign in front of your child's school or a "We are armed" sign? Well, definitely "We are armed" is what I would want. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. 4 lines open. Mike, Dallas, WBAP. Hello, what do you got?
Hey, Chris, how are you?
Good, how are you?
How are you? Hey, that's a big no on the security guards, and a big yes on the teachers. But my point was going to be, I'm a former cop from Florida. You're mandated to cover a certain amount of zones with a certain amount of people. Yeah. And even when your population grows, you just have to keep bringing on more and more police officers for that area. Mm-hmm. So if they mandate that we have to have all educational facilities covered by whatever jurisdiction, they can absolutely do it. Each jurisdiction will have to cover each educational place in each school in that area.
Well, the only problem is elementary schools there's way too many, and it's not feasible at all ever to be able to have every single elementary school guarded by a police officer. So my understanding is, from everything I've read and seen on this issue over the years here in the Metroplex and abroad, not abroad, but all over the country, that I've seen, is that high schools, of course, middle schools, yes, but elementary schools, no way. It's not. Yeah.
They're talking about money, but if you make it a law, it will have to happen.
Yeah, but then you have to fund it, and the funding is insane. I've looked at some of the numbers. There was a school district I mentioned earlier. I don't know if you caught it, but there was a school district. It's one of the wealthier school district areas. Definitely a rich folk area. And I have no knock on them. I'm just saying. And they can. This one lady did take up a fundraising effort, and then she was able to fund it. But then one of our local news outlets did the numbers, and it's obscene. It's not feasible. Billions and billions of dollars were talked about, I think, just for like certain school districts. So I just think the more. Do you have a problem with teachers being armed, though? I guess that are trained and such. And approved?
No, not at all.
Okay. So that, to me, that's the answer. Obviously, I'm not going to say no to cops. I think that's the answer for as much as possible. But where it's not feasible, I guess, is all I'm saying.
Can I comment on
Please.
One guy said that teachers would wear a sash or something if they're armed.
I don't know if that's realistic, but he didn't say teachers. He said he does as a member of a security team. But what do you want to say about that? Because I'm listening to you. I don't know about that.
So after Columbine, we did training in Florida, school training, where we would go in with, as soon as we'd pretend that there was a shooter in the school. And we'd do this at night. The school was shut down.
I love this.
And
I love that you did that.
As soon as you got 2 or 3 or 4 people there, you can go in whenever you want. If you have to go in with just yourself, that's up to you. But usually you'd wait for at least one guy three's best because you can do a certain formation.
Yeah.
And each school there's codes that they use. I won't give it away.
Yeah.
But there's codes that they use that for each door that as you're going down the hallway, you know what rooms to check and which ones not to check.
Interesting.
So that would just be part of the teacher's training. If they have a gun, maybe it is. I'm not saying, Miss
like
America,
a code meaning that means I'm a friendly. Is that accurate?
Yeah, there's different codes on the windows that they would put where if we knew there was injured people or...
injured or what? Sorry, go ahead.
Injured or safe. And if there's nothing, you'd have to clear that room to make sure...
Oh, I see. Like a 1, like we'll make up something, a 1 or a 2. 1 means it's safe, a 1 or a 99, whatever, something that's distinct. I don't know. I'm just making this up.
Right.
But, 1 means we're fine, move on to find the threat. What's not in here. 99 means, I don't know what we're screwed. We're foobarred or nothing. Actually, nothing means we're foobarred, right?
Yeah, and we would actually shoot these, it's almost like like the consistency of a crayon out of a 40 caliber. It would be inside the cartridge, right?
That way you do you're doing the rolls and you pop people, but not with a gun. You pop them with a crayon, right?
Not with a gun. But it was in that environment. Your adrenaline's up. It feels real, that kind of training.
Good.
But we would do that all the time.
That's muscle memory, right?
The teachers also got their training.
Yeah. And the teachers would do it with you, right? Is that what you're saying?
No, they wouldn't do it with. No, it's too dangerous for them. But I mean, they would have their own training on what we're looking for when we come into school.
So this is so enlightening, brother. And I had the privilege with some canine cops here in the Metroplex. And I loved being with them. And I was just very close with one who's now retired. And they would do with about 3 other departments in the area, they would do things at night. They would do school training, just like you're talking about, and I got to be a part of it, not involved in the training, but watch next to the dude who was in the safe zone. It was calling the shots, and it was amazing to watch them in one of our schools at night, where they obviously are allowed to go in there and do this. And I've seen them where the one of you guys for the canines, one of you gets the crap end of the stick, and you're going to get attacked. You're wearing the suit, so they rotate it. And he's like, "Oh crap!" It's like, man, because that's bad. I mean, it's terrifying to me. Anyways, so he'll be hiding in one of the rooms, and the dog has to find it. And I watched that and go run. I'm like, dang, this is incredible. And I've seen him in an office environment. Do it at night, same group of guys, and I mean, it's wild, the kind of stuff you guys do, and I'm like a little kid watching. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's incredible to see that dog, and the officer does a pat down, and the bad guy, quote unquote, in the suit, starts attacking him while they're in a pat down mode, and so the dog goes, and the cop knows you got to get back because that dog might get you, and then you're foobarred.
Because they don't care where they bite.
Right.
I had to do that once. A canine guy said, "Hey, can you help me out?" So I went over. He goes,
"No." What? Right.
He said, "What I want you to do is just talk to me outside my car. The dog's inside the car, right? We're outside the car, and all he gave me was the arm cover. So it just the thing that covers your arm.
No.
He says, push me down and just start running because they have the button on their belt that opens the door. If they open that door, that dog's coming. And so I did that, and I started running, and I tripped on a root.
No!
And I face planted.
You screwed the pooch!
I was so worried about getting bit, so I swung the arm around just in time. He got my shoulder just a little bit, but he got the safety.
Dude, I got to play with the one I was friends with. He'd swing by sometimes, and I got to toss the toy and but I also sometimes you just play with him a little bit, and I'm like, watch it if he, because he keeps clasping and moving forward up more to hold his and tugging. I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is terrifying. And when they hit the button and the back gate pops open, the lift comes up, and this thing just comes out, and goes boom, like just a boom, and it starts going. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the worst criminals are terrified of them. Most of them are terrified of them. And when they don't obey and the dog's going to threaten to be unleashed, they turn quickly. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Quick other note, I've been tased on the air to show my support of tasering about when I was in Atlanta years ago. I've got the audio, and I was terrified they were going to do it again when I was on the ground. I rode the lightning, as I like to call it. 5 seconds felt like 30 seconds. It was so painful, so terrifying. I'm like, and when I thought, and he was like, we were playing on the air, and he's like, stop moving. I'm like, I'm not moving. Please don't. I literally said, oh my God. Like, I was like, oh my God. And, because it was like, it hurt. I'm sure you've ridden the lightning, right?
I did it once. I volunteered for the full body ride where they tape the one probe on your heel and the other one on the back of your neck. Full body ride. Yeah. Yes. And I regretted that, but I looked macho while I was volunteering, but
oh, dude,
they let it ride. I was.
You the man. What do you want to say what department you work for, or no? It's okay either way. It doesn't matter.
I worked down in Florida, the Lee County Sheriff's Office.
Wonderful.
Fort Myers area.
Thank you for your service, Mike. I'm glad you're here.
You got it. Thank you.
Take care. That's a great guy. All right, Ravi and McKinney, Ed and Weatherford, you are next. Do you trust security guards with your child's life? What do you think are the best ways to make our schools safer? Would you prefer a gun-free zone sign in front of your child's school or a We Are Armed sign? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. 3 lines open. Chime in now. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. DISD wants to hire a bunch of security guards. No offense to them, but I don't trust a security guard with my child's life. I trust a teacher with my child's life that loves the children. Do you trust security guards with your child's life? What do you think are the best ways to make our schools safer? And would you prefer a gun-free zone sign in front of your child's school or a We Are Armed sign? I'm going We Are Armed. I want our teachers armed. Ed in Weatherford, you've called in at 800-288-WBAP. Thanks for listening to WBAP, Ed.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome.
Yes, I think it wouldn't hurt for the teacher to be armed if they are well trained and they're willing to do what's necessary to do at the time. But as far as the police and them, I don't know, because I've seen a whole bunch of them backing up down the hall in South Texas at a school, and none of them grown men armed would go challenge that young man.
Now you're talking about the police officers.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if you heard me a little earlier talk about the real reason why that happened. In my opinion, I mean, I've read all the different reports and everything about. There's been several, including one that just came out, and from the Border Patrol, actually, because their BORTEC unit was there, and and I'll tell you what I strongly feel, and the criminal charges are bearing that out anyways. There's only 2 people right now. The chief reason why that school shooting happened beyond what needed to, but beyond what happened before it was, able to stop it, was the cowardice of the chief of police for Uvalde ISD. I mean, that was his job. And he had just attended there's no excuse for him. And he stayed outside. And he kept saying, we're gonna, we're out here, he's a coward. And he was the incident commander, and to this day he lies and says he wasn't the incident commander. His jurisdiction is the dang school district. He was at a school shooting training event just a few months earlier. He is responsible for, and he drew up a plan for a response to a school shooting for that district, as you would expect, and he did not act. And his act was to say, hold on, we're triaging, hold on, we're awaiting. And I do have to say, as a different jurisdiction, one of the officers, I believe, if not one of the chiefs, or acting interim chief, someone of that nature with the city police also has been charged, I believe. Doesn't mean they're going to get successfully prosecuted, but I would like to see Chief Art Acevedo, the guy who's the coward, go to jail and lose his peace officer license for good. He was the incident commander. He didn't act. He held everybody back. And you can't show up from state police and not know who's in charge and just take over without talking to who's in charge and then making some kind of a decision. It was a disaster. But I fault the chief of Uvalde ISD police. That was a long word. It's Kamala word salad there. Go ahead.
In a way, yes, sir. But if I'm standing in that hall and I'm armed and I'm equipped and he's back there shooting, I'm going to go forward and stop him.
I think the best thing in that situation, and I'm not law enforcement, would be to go to the front and say, who's in charge? Okay, I'm going in unless somebody can tell me why we shouldn't go in, who's in charge. Because you don't just jump in there. There could be a plan. I mean, you show up and be Hero Bob and walk around 10 people that have been there for a while that you don't even know what's going on in the room. And if there's not shots fired right away, you don't know. So you go there, you talk to who's in charge, and you say, why aren't we going in? What's the plan? And then eventually I would think you say, I'm going in. Screw you, back off. What are you going to do, shoot me? But so I could say I can fault him for after 5 minutes or something. But it was cowardice, and I blame the leader. And the leader is the chief of police, sir, because that's his job. Why the hell is why is he in charge of the ISD police if he doesn't do the job?
That's true.
So, can you imagine being a Border Patrol agent and coming and saying, get out of my way? You don't know what you're talking about, even though you have plans for the school and keys for the school and you know what to do. You drew up the plan. Get out of my way. I know what I'm doing. That's the reason why I'm like... Anyway, Ed, God bless you. Appreciate you. Keith, Fort Worth, WBAP. Hello. What's up?
Hey, Chris. So my theory on this is people don't understand. If you arm the teachers, they're not going to fight the gunmen. They're there to protect the classroom.
Yes.
So... No. So people need to understand, Army teachers is one of the best options. Now, I was very fortunate where I grew up with cops in my school. So I think an officer should be at every school. And as a well-trained officer, not someone who's been on the job for 4 months, but someone who's been on the job for maybe 10, 12 years.
Well, here's the problem with that. You can't do it at the elementary school. It's not feasible. And even at the Georgia school, the high school where that shooting just happened there with 4 children and 2 teachers shot dead, there were, I believe, 2 armed officers on the premises, but it took them a little bit to get there because, they were maybe on the other side of the school. I don't know. And so the teacher in a classroom like you're talking about could have made a difference. And I know not every teacher is going to be armed, but the more the better. That's a supplement, I agree
100%. But also, I think the students, people should need to tell the students, if you see a gunman, he can't take out 10, 12 of you at one time or 20. If you see him, rush him.
Yes, that is part of the training that they're told, and that's absolutely supposed to throw chairs, tables, staplers, anything at them to inundate them, fluster them, get them distracted, maybe hit them in the head hard, and then just rush them and overthrow them. But yeah, I appreciate your call, Keith. Thank you. It's terrifying to talk about and think about. But these leftist parents who want to take away all the guns and stuff and say, my child has to go through a drill. You're talking to your kids about this stuff like that, then you're literally a fool. When you talk like that to your kid, you're terrifying them and making them hysterical. They don't have to be hysterical if you handle it right. Okay, coming up next, the former sector chief of the Border Patrol in San Diego says terrorism numbers skyrocketed 300% under Kamala Joe, and they would not let me tell. They muzzled me. And illegals in Chicago public schools are being passed with failing grades, and you're not going to believe that from a report that just came out. That's coming up next. Chris Crock Show at 33 after the hour. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM 93.3. Make it a preset. 800-288 WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Okay, so the illegal invasion. The newly retired Border Patrol chief of the San Diego sector testified in front of Congress, I think it was yesterday, that there was a 3,000% increase in terrorists caught at the border, going in between illegally, in between the points of entry. And I'm going to play the soundbite from him. Here we go.
In San Diego, we had an exponential increase in significant interest aliens. These are aliens with significant ties to terrorism. At the time, I was told I could not release any information on this increase in SIAs or mention any of the arrests. The administration was trying to convince the public there was no threat at the border.
Now, he actually said, this is just the San Diego sector. Do you understand that? I mean, we have two sectors, I believe. We have one or two sectors in Texas. I think I do. I know we have the RGV has one sector, I believe, and I think El Paso's another because it's way far away. I do believe that. But I think there's 3 to 4 sectors on the border. So this is just one. And he reported that there was 382 terrorists at the San Diego sector alone. At the same time that under Kamala Joe, there were 382 terrorists they happened to catch that were trying to be gotaways in between the border or a place of protection. And in the during Trump's time, same amount of time, 11. 11. Do you want 11 terrorists caught? Meaning some may have gotten through, or do you want 382? That literally is a 3,000% increase in terrorists trying to get in. How many terrorists do you think have gotten in? We know that rapists are coming in and murderers are coming in. For example, Bill Melugin, thank you. Hello. Bill Melugin, Fox News, I follow him on Twitter. He just tweeted this out. New ICE Boston has arrested this would be a third illegal alien charged with raping a child in Nantucket. 3 in Nantucket alone. In this case, it's a Salvadoran national who entered the U.S. illegally as a gotaway and was charged with 3 counts of aggravated child rape last month by Nantucket authorities. Just so you understand, though, the reason why the gotaways are getting away is because the Border Patrol Union and members have said in their own terms, we're invaded with illegals. We have to process them. We cannot get all these people coming through. We normally would. So Joe and Kama's making sure that many more men can rape our children and our women and our wives and our children. Kamala makes sure about this. She's a prosecutor. She knows. She's tough on the border. Can you imagine that, though? A 3,000% increase in terrorism, in addictions at the San Diego sector alone. I want to add to that, Chicago, as you know, has been invaded by so many illegals, at least 50,000 since 2022, thanks to Kamala Joe. WGN Chicago, which is a mega station on television and radio, in my hometown, they exclusively reported, I've got the report in my hand, I listened to the radio report, that teachers that are Chicago Public Schools, and I have somebody who's a CPS teacher, Chicago Public Schools teacher, that I know closely, that's in extended family, and they are being ordered to pass all the illegals who speak no English, and there are almost no translators. These are in heavily African-American school areas in Chicago. So, and they're also saying there's so many illegals and there's no ESL teachers in these parts that are in African-American areas of Chicago exclusively, pretty much. And they've got tons of illegals in there, and they're just being ordered to pass them with a 70% grade, even though they can't speak a dang word of English, and they're not being able to teach them, and there's nothing, and they're failing, and they're being told pass them at 70. So my questions for you on this is, and one more point on this, and then I ask questions. The amount of illegals that have invaded us is so high that our Fed chairman just said publicly, and you heard it in Fox News at the report at the top, he says the Fed chair just, he cut 50 basis points the other day. He also said in that press conference, if you're having that illegals, the invasion of illegals under Joe and Kamala is so high that it's affecting our unemployment rate. It's increasing artificially our unemployment rate. He said, if you're having millions of illegals come in, he said migrant. If you're having millions of illegals, actually he said millions of people, but it's illegals. If you're having millions of people come into the labor force and you're creating 100,000 jobs per month, you're going to see the unemployment go up. So it really depends on what's the trend underlying the volatility of people coming into the country. So what does that mean? Unemployment is rising and rising because Joe Biden and Kamala have invaded this country with 15 million illegals. So here's my questions for you. Do you want to deport, and Kamala, by the way, mocks and says, can you imagine what it would look like if Trump wins and deports 14 million people?
And now they have pledged to carry out the largest deportation, a mass deportation in American history. Imagine what that would look like and what that would be.
Trump just played that, and at the end of it with I'm Donald Trump and I approve this message. He took that and made it an ad. Just, mention that. Wouldn't you like that? Well, a brand new poll just came in. It's a Scripps News Ipsos poll, so it's definitely not some right-leaning poll. 54% of respondents said they strongly or somewhat support deporting the illegals that Kamala brought in with Joe. 86% of Republicans, 58% of independents, so 6 out of 10 independents basically, and a quarter of Democrats say deport them all. Or they strongly or somewhat support deporting them all. So here's my questions. Do you want to deport the millions of illegals Kamala and Joe have brought into our country? Should public schools give passing grades to Kamala and Joe's illegals even when they fail? Should Kamala and Joe's illegal children be passed even when they fail in our public schools, like what's happening in Chicago? And what do you think happens if all these illegals just go through public schools without learning anything? What happens? What do they become? Most importantly, right now, is this just free daycare to you? Can you think about that? Tens of thousands of illegal children in public schools in Chicago. They can't pass anything. They don't speak any English. And Chicago Public Schools teachers are ordering teachers, according to multiple reports from teachers directly. They are ordering them to just give them a 70% and pass them. Isn't that just free daycare? Are you comfortable paying for free daycare for Kamala's illegals? That's what that is. And by the way, what are they doing to the children in Chicago Public Schools that are being that are with this? What happens if half the class are a bunch of illegals that don't speak English, and they keep getting passed? What, did your child in that class get an education? Do those African-American children not give? They don't care about it, obviously. That's why they're doing this. Kamala doesn't give a frog's fat you-know-what about them. And Kamala's and Joe are doing everything they can to stop your child from getting vouchers to get out of that failing school. How do you think Kamala and Joe's illegals have affected our job market and unemployment numbers? Those are my questions. Do you want to deport the millions that they brought in? Should public schools give passing grades to the illegals that Kamala and Joe brought in? What do you think happens if all these illegals just go through the public schools? Isn't that just free daycare without learning anything? And how do you think Kamala and Joe's illegals have affected our unemployment in this country, our unemployment market and the numbers? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Lines wide open, chime in right now. I'm going to tell you something else. Next, we're going to when we come back here about 3 minutes at 46 after, I'm going to tell you the numbers from the United States government on how many U.S. workers lost jobs and how many illegals gained jobs that Joe and Kamala brought in. Stunning. Very stunning. Next on the Chris Crock Show, 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227 on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. The illegal invasion. We have Chicago Public Schools being ordered to, teachers are being ordered to pass all the illegals with a passing grade, even though they can't speak a lick of English and don't learn anything. And to me, this is just free daycare. And I want all the illegals deported, and that's what Trump wants to do. Kamala thinks, imagine what that would look like. Well, I imagine what the invasion looked like. I don't have to imagine that. I saw it, and we're going to do an uninvasion. That's because of you. It's all your fault. If we want to say, why does this look like this? We'll say, because Kamala did it with Joe. So do you want to deport the millions of illegals Kamala and Joe brought into our country? Should public schools just give passing grades to their illegals, even when they fail? And what do you think happens if all these illegals just go through public schools without learning anything? And isn't that just free daycare? And then we find out from our Fed chief that the invasion of all these illegals has bastardized our markets for our job markets with unemployment. By the way, since October 2019, you ready for this? Since Joe and Kamala had us invaded, 1.4 million workers have lost their jobs since 2019. I was like, the jobs, look at our jobs. And she's like, Joe and I, we made so many jobs. Since October 2019, U.S. workers lost 1.4 million jobs. Foreign-born workers gained 3 million jobs. New York City is spending $5 billion this year on Joe and Kamala's illegals, potentially $10 billion next year, and they're giving out debit cards with over $2,000 on it for every illegal. Millions of working-age Americans are not working. They've left the workforce. And after 6 months of asylum, Joe and Kamala give those illegals work permits. By the way, under Kamala and Joe, encounters at the southern border went up almost 240%, and that doesn't include the 2 million gotaways. So when people say it was just as bad under Trump, you just tell them it was 240% increase, and that's not including 2 million gotaways, 3 of whom have been arrested for raping children on Nantucket Island alone. Remember when Ron DeSantis sent him 50 on a plane? And they threatened to charge him, and the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, the liberal Democrat woke Bexar County sheriff from San Antonio said, I'm doing an investigation of DeSantis. I might charge him. And you remember what the white rich people of Nantucket did? They called in the army on him. National Guard showed up with M16s and big trucks, and they loaded all the illegals up and took them off the island because the white people initially did think, we have our lawn guys here. Look at honey, our lawn guys here. I'm sorry, you're late. Oh, it's not a lawn guy? Call the police. Call the military. We can't have a person of color that's not here to work on our house. Jail them. And then remember when they're like, "We love you," when they were putting them in the jail in the military trucks with the armed guards. Yeah, we love you, illegals. Come back and wash my dishes. Vote for Kamala. Joe in Fort Worth, what's up? WBAP.
How you doing, Chris? I say send them all back.
Yes.
And if they have a drive, I get stuff in the mail every day from all these politicians wanting money for one thing or the other. And there are certain ones I will send something to. But if there's some kind of a money drive to get the money together, to send them back the cheapest way, I don't care if it's a slow boat, however we get rid of them, I would gladly put money in for that.
Yes, I would too.
Think these schools should be doing a thing with these kids.
Absolutely correct.
You're wasting the teachers' time. You're wasting the taxpayers' money.
They should put them with their family and in the camp that they're going to establish that Trump talked about, where it's tents, huge, massive tents with judges, and they're going to deport him if he gets elected, and they should. And whereas Kamala and Joe seek to shove them into our society and then say you're ripping apart families, which is a lie. You invaded this country. We're going to uninvade it. Are you surprised that the San Diego sector chief that just retired said that there was a 3,000% increase in terrorists caught trying to enter illegally between ports of entry? 3,000% increase. 11 under Trump for the same time frame, and compared to 382 under Kamala Joe.
Not surprised.
I want to tell you one more thing. I had on a guy who helped craft the policy the governor of Texas just introduced. He was on my show this past week, and he told me that it is a reasonable expectation that tens of thousands of terrorists have come into our country under Kamala and Joe, tens of thousands.
I believe that. Yep.
He said they're here with the Mexican cartels. They become a hyper problem. They're merging with Tren de Agua. And that's where this where this is going to end is synergy between MS-13, like it is in MS-13 in Chicago, New York. There's a synergy between MS-13 and Tren de Agua now. Synergy with the cartels. And so what this does is a Tier 1 gang designates the state of Texas. Now all local, state, and county law enforcement work together and do they're statewide with the synergy together. And every major city in Texas, he said, there are Tren de Aragua in every major city in our state now. So this is what they've done. And also we aren't even seeing. We are seeing the little shoots come out from the ground. We're not going to see fruit for another 1 to 5 years, 1 to 10 years of what they've done to us, and they're going to blame it on Trump, man. Of course. Yeah, it's going to be really, really bad, really bad. I appreciate your call, Joe, and I thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Next on the Chris Crock Show, this is going to be a really good one. Why are so many left-wing nut jobs trying to kill Republicans? Newsweek wrote about this, and there's about 5 of them in the past 4 or 5 years, actually. And then we'll hit on the Secret Service as well, along with those nut jobs trying to kill. Not only, I don't know if you caught this, did you know that a leftist man was sent like 150 vile, wicked, it's words we can't say even to, and threats to kill 6 of the justices? Did you know that? He was just arrested, and guess what? Guess how many conservative justices are on the Supreme Court? 6. Which ones do you think he sent it to? I will tell you coming up next, and guess what? We know what his affiliation is. The one that just got arrested for threatening to kill 6 justices in a graphic way. Details of how he'd murder them. Okay, we'll tell you about that next on the Chris Crock Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. 800-288-9227 is our number, 800-288-WBAP.